We are ramping things up here on our NFL Draft channel here at Chat Sports, bringing you more NFL Draft content than ever before. And as we're about a month away from the names being called in Green Bay, if you want even more access from Chat Sports with bringing you mock drafts and mock draft reactions from all across the NFL, then I need to get 20 subscribers off today's video. Can we make that happen? Best part about it, doesn't cost you a thing, 100% free. Subscribe now to our NFL Draft channel by Chat Sports, youtube.com/chatNFL, and we'll get started with today's show. Welcome in. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. The NFL Draft is almost here, my friends. And ESPN's Matt Miller, who does a really good job as a draft analyst for the mothership, he put together a full 7-round mock draft of all 32 teams across the National Football League. And what we're going to do here on today's show, we're going to run through the entire first round and then also tell you about some of the notable picks that were made in the other 6 rounds of this year's draft by Matt Miller. Worth noting, no trades in this 7-round mock draft. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started with the first pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. The Tennessee Titans go with Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami. A lot of discussions about the Titans potentially trading the pick or maybe going Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. Instead, they get their franchise quarterback here with Cam Ward. At 2, we find Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, going to the Cleveland Browns. Abdul Carter, fantastic prospect. Pair him up with Myles Garrett. That defense could be nasty. Then you go to New York, and despite the Giants bringing in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, they still go quarterback as they select Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Well, the New England Patriots, they get wide receiver / cornerback Travis Hunter with the number 4 overall pick. And you got to admit, that would be pretty exciting to see him in that offense with Drake May or maybe on the defensive side of the ball playing alongside Christian Gonzalez and company. That'd be a lot of fun. At 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they go with Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan, giving them some help up front on the defensive line. So let's ask you. You heard Matt Miller say that he's got Cam Ward as the number 1 pick to the Tennessee Titans. Who do you think will be the number 1 pick in this year's draft? You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Let us know what you think. Predict it for me. Who will be that first overall pick? Way in the comments section and let us know. We continue to the number 6 pick. The Las Vegas Raiders go with T-Mac, the star receiver from Arizona, with the selection. Then at number 7, this guy's been rising up boards pretty fast. That is Armand Membou, the offensive tackle out of MIZZOU. Some people think he could be playing guard at the next level. Then at 8, we find Carolina Panthers edge rusher / linebacker. They go with Jalen Walker from Georgia. And then at 9, the New Orleans Saints get some help on the defensive side of the ball as they go with Barron, the corner from Texas. And then rounding out the top 10 is none other than the best running back in college football, rushed for over 2,000 yards. Ashton Jeanty from Boise State goes to the Chicago Bears. Pairing him up with Caleb Williams, that could be a very exciting offense there in Chicago. At 11, the San Francisco 49ers, they go corner. They get Will Johnson, the star from Michigan, to help out that defensive side of the ball there in San Fran. 12, the Dallas Cowboys, they go tight end Tyler Warren out of Penn State, who I'm really high on. Reminds me a lot of Brock Bowers, the selection by the Las Vegas Raiders last year out of Georgia. I think he's going to be a star in the league. Then we go 13. The Miami Dolphins select Will Campbell, the offensive tackle / guard out of LSU, getting some help to protect Tua on that offensive line. 14, another tight end off the board. This time it is Colston Loveland. And the Colts, they've had some pretty good tight ends over the years. I think Dallas Clark, Colston Loveland could certainly fit that mold there to carry on that legacy at 14, help out Anthony Richardson at that spot. 15, the Atlanta Falcons, they go linebacker with Jahad Campbell out of Alabama to help out their defense. And then we go to 16. This is where we find somebody that's been rising up boards quite a bit. That is Marshall edge rusher Mike Green, who had a very good year there with the Thundering Herd at Marshall. And he's been a guy that Pro Football Focus in particular has given a lot of attention to, seeing his stock rise. Then at 17, the Bengals, they go safety Nick Emanwari out of South Carolina. The first-team All-American and first-team All-SEC selection comes off the board. Well, at 18, this is a bit of a surprise for me. The Seahawks go wide receiver with Matthew Golden from Texas. I like Matthew Golden, but it's a bit high, I think, for Matthew Golden to be going to Seattle at 18, and they have some obvious needs on the offensive line that they probably should address first. 19, the Bucs. They go with Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia. He's drawn a lot of comparisons to Kyle Hamilton. And then 20, Luther Burden III, the wide receiver out of MIZZOU, gets taken by the Denver Broncos. Some people think that Luther Burden's stock is starting to slip, and he might fall out of the first round entirely. Matt Miller seems to think he'll still go top 20. Who is your favorite player in the NFL Draft in 2025? If you had to give me one name, no wrong answers here, who would it be? Get in that comment section right now and give us a name that you like in this year's draft. Up next, we go Thomas, the corner from Florida State. He ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers already have a good defense, and they get a little bit better with that one. The Chargers, they go with Hampton, the running back from North Carolina. You look at that Chargers team, they just brought in Najee Harris. Jim Harbaugh wants to be physical and run the football. That seems to be a good fit for them. Meanwhile, at 23, the Green Bay Packers, they go with offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. A lot of discussions. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard at the next level? All of his numbers check the boxes this past season with Texas, as he was a first-team All-American and first-team All-SEC selection. At 24, the Minnesota Vikings, they go with Maxwell Harrison, the corner from the University of Kentucky, getting some help on the defensive side of the ball. The Vikings look like a sneaky good team in 2025. The Texans, they get some protection up front for C.J. Stroud as they go with Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State, there with the 25th pick. At 26, we find the Los Angeles Rams getting their quarterback of the future to eventually replace Matthew Stafford with Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I'm not the biggest fan of Jackson Dart. I don't think he's a first-round talent, but maybe the Rams disagree. Then at 27, the Ravens get some help on the defensive side of the ball. They go with Derek Harmon, the star defensive tackle from Oregon, the All-Big Ten selection, who had a solid season this year under the radar there with the Ducks. At 28, the Lions, they get some help on the offensive line. They go with Gray Zabel, and he was really good at North Dakota State. A lot of discussions about where exactly he plays on the offensive line, and Matt Miller seems to think that he's a center or a guard at the next level. Then we go 29, the Washington Commanders. They go edge rusher Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M, just a freak athlete, and that would be a welcome addition for the Washington Commanders if that's the case. We will go over our final picks and some of the notables of the other rounds in a moment. But first, got a great deal for fans of every team across the NFL. We got jerseys on sale now at chatsports.com/NFL jersey of all of your favorite players, from Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes to George Kittle, just to name a few. Whether you're looking for a jersey for yourself or maybe it's for a loved one or friend, we got them all for you. Go check them out, chatsports.com/NFL jersey. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. And we also have other NFL merchandise at that same link for you as well. Go see for yourself now, chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours today. Up next, let's move ahead to 30 now as we round out the first round. And we find Trey Amos, the corner from Mississippi, going to the Buffalo Bills at 30. At 31, the Kansas City Chiefs, they go edge rusher with Mikael Williams, the star from Georgia, who looked really good in his matchups against Texas this year. And then our final pick of the draft, the Philadelphia Eagles, they go with the edge rusher out of Boston College, Donovan Ezerukara. the edge rusher from Boston College, to round out the first round of picks. And the Philadelphia Eagles defense getting even better after a fantastic season last year. Let's go over some of the notable second-round picks. The Browns go quarterback out of Louisville, Tyler Schaff, with the 33rd selection. Kind of high on Schaff, but we've seen his stock start to rise as of late as there's some troubles finding some flaws in his game. 34, the Giants, they go with Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver from The Ohio State. And you pair him up with Shedeur Sanders, who they took in the first round. Then you got some young weapons along with Malik Neighbors there. How about this, folks? Quinn Ewers, the quarterback from Texas, he heads to New Orleans to join the New Orleans Saints and back up Derek Carr there. Maybe the Saints potentially find their quarterback of the future in Quinn Ewers. And then another second-round pick for you at 49, James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher from Tennessee. He was named the number one player in college football by ESPN entering last season, although his numbers didn't reflect how dominant he was as he was taking on a lot of double teams. I think he's got a bright future in the NFL, and that'd be great for the Bengals, who certainly have their fair share of issues on the defensive side of the ball. Who's a player your team should draft? Your chance to be on the clock here on today's show. If you had to pick one name that you would like to see your team draft, let us know in the comments section who that is. Let's go to some notable third-round picks. Isaiah Bond slips all the way to the third round. That'd be a big surprise to me. He goes to Carolina at 74. The Steelers, there's been some rumblings that they really like Jalen Milroe. In fact, there was even discussions this past week that they might even be willing to use a first-round pick on Milroe, the quarterback from Bama. I don't know if he's a quarterback at the next level or not. He's certainly a great athlete. He goes 83 to Pittsburgh. Jack Sawyer, one of the best players in college football this past season. He goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the edge rusher there at Ohio State at pick number 84. Well, Billy Bowman Jr., one of my favorite players in this draft, the safety from OU, he ends up with the Miami Dolphins, and you are not going to get a player that works as hard as Billy Bowman Jr. He puts in a ton of effort. I think the Miami Dolphins would be pleased by that. Let's go to some notable day 3 picks now. This is Saturday, by the way, in the draft for those at home keeping track. The Steelers go with Cam Skattebo, the running back out of Arizona State, as they're looking to replace Najee Harris. They get him at 123. Kyle McCord, the quarterback from Syracuse, formerly from Ohio State, big arm, put up great numbers this year at Syracuse. He goes to the Dolphins at 135. And the guy that replaced him at Ohio State actually gets picked a few picks behind him. Will Howard, the national champion of the Ohio State Buckeyes, he goes to the Las Vegas Raiders at 143 to back up Geno Smith. Tez Johnson, one of my favorite receivers in this draft. You talk about a steal. He slips all the way to 165 to the Philadelphia Eagles there with that selection. And Dylan Gabriel heads to Seattle, where the Seahawks have not picked many quarterbacks over the years in the draft under GM John Schneider. He stays in the Pacific Northwest and ends up backing up Sam Darnold there in Seattle at 172. A couple more for you. Colin Oliver, the star edge rusher from Oklahoma State. He ends up with the Tennessee Titans at 188. Riley Leonard, who's coming off taking Notre Dame to the national championship game, he goes to San Francisco at 227 to back up Brock Purdy. And then how about this guy? He was on the cover of College Football 25 this past season. He's a national champion, running back Donovan Edwards from Michigan. He goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, so the Steelers double up at running back with Skattebo and Edwards and put together a pretty decent 1-2 punch of some young running backs on that front. So there you have it. That is a full look at ESPN's Matt Miller's mock draft. For continuing draft coverage, subscribe to the channel now. Lock us in. We got you covered leading up each and every day to the 2025 NFL Draft from Green Bay. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.